Good evening, and welcome to Unity Books Presents. I'm Ellen Debenport, the Vice President of Publishing for Unity World Headquarters, and tonight I'm talking with Christine Bush, the author of the latest Unity book, Understanding Your Soul, The Channeled Wisdom of Jesus. Hey, Christine, it's good to see you again.
Reverend Ellen, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
I have told the story a lot about how this book came about, but just briefly, Christine is a member at Unity of Buffalo, New York, and her minister, Mary Masters, emailed me and said, "There's a woman in my church who's written this book where she channeled Jesus." Mary knew I would roll my eyes, but she said, "Please give it a chance." And I loved it. And so I made a deal with Christine for Unity to take over publication. It was a little intimidating to edit the words of Jesus. Jesus dictated 12 short chapters, and we added to it. There's a preface where Christine talks about channeling, and there's a Q&A from a Unity of Buffalo study group that got to ask questions of Jesus through Christine. So here's the plan for tonight. I will introduce the book and then ask Christine some questions about the book and her role as a channeler. Then she will channel Jesus for us. You may ask questions of either of them, but this is your one direction for the night. Please put your questions for Jesus or Christine in the Q&A and not the chat. The Q&A should be at the bottom of your screen. If you don't see it, you may need to click the three dots that say more, but it's a Q&A, not the chat. If you have any other questions like, is this being recorded? Put that in the chat, but I will tell you now, yes, it is. And you will get an email in a few days with a link to the recording, which you are free to share with anyone. So we have a team of chat moderators, Q&A moderators, who will funnel your questions to me, and I can ask them of Christine or of Jesus. And if you don't have questions for him, I have a long list. So I want to let Christine tell you about the book, Understanding Your Soul, but just briefly, he talks about the role that our souls play in setting up human lifetimes. The thing to keep in mind is that our souls are us. A huge part of them stays on the non-physical plane, while part of them comes here for a human lifetime. But we're never separate from our full soul. Call it the higher self. And we can communicate with it. So, Christine, let's back up a little bit. What is channeling?
Oh, well, channeling is really very natural. And I understand that people can have qualms about channeling, but it's nothing more than tuning into information outside our physical world. And that happens to us all the time. For instance, we might suddenly know something and just say, oh, that's my intuition kicking in. Or there have been musicians that have channeled beautiful pieces of music and they don't know where it came from, or artists who do paintings that they don't know where the inspiration came from. Even Albert Einstein said that he knew his theorems came from someplace outside of himself. So it's really very natural. And I think that it's becoming more common as our consciousness is rising, as our vibration is rising. It's becoming easier for people to connect to those energies. So I think more and more people are doing it all the time. I work with channelers all over the world, and it's really very natural.
Okay. How did you become a channeler?
Well, I guess it started when I was a child. I would lay in bed at night and hear a voice that spoke to me. And it was a wonderful, kind, supportive, encouraging voice. And I just thought it was very natural. And I assumed everybody had these voices speaking to them. And I never made a big deal about it. I was also raised in a family that was very strict Catholic, but my mother was psychic. And she just knew things. She would know who was on the phone before it rang. She would know who was at the door before the doorbell rang. She knew that a relative was having an emergency across town that needed help. She just knew things, and that was just very natural to us. And she took me to a spiritualist colony near here called Lilydale. And I was just fascinated by the mediums there. I was fascinated about where were they getting this information? How did they know this stuff about us? So I took some courses. I took a course in psychic development and some in medical intuition, but I didn't really have any talent for that. So I put it aside for quite a long time. until I was at work and I was doing a lot of conferences on the phone, and I was a doodler. And I'd be doodling, and all of a sudden I'd be looking down, and I was writing messages, just, silly little things. Like, one time I remember I wrote, "Move that Alfa Romeo." And when I went down to get my car that night, there was an Alfa Romeo blocking it in. And there's not a lot of Alfa Romeos in Buffalo. So I thought maybe I should start paying attention to this. So I thought maybe I'd try automatic writing. And automatic writing is when you sit down with a paper and a pen or in front of a keyboard, and you clear your mind and you just start writing whatever comes into your head. And I started writing messages from Archangel Michael. And they were beautiful messages, and I wanted to share them. So I put them on a Facebook page, and it was soon followed all over the world. And I was getting requests for written channelings from people from all over the world. And then one day I sat down, and this other energy came in and introduced himself as Archangel Zadkiel. Well, he started to speak through me, and it literally scared the heck out of me. I mean, I jumped out of my chair. I was like, what is this? But I sat down, and he said he was Archangel Zadkiel, and I never knew much about archangels. When different ones would show up, as soon as they left, I'd have to Google who they were because I'd never heard of them before. But Archangel Zadkiel spoke through me. He was the first one, and I channeled him for a friend of mine who was going through a very difficult time with her family. And through many channelings, he worked with her on acceptance and detachment and allowance, and really helped her through a really tough time. So I thought, well, I'll start channeling him for other people. And then soon others started coming through, other archangels, Raphael, Metatron, Uriel, Gabriel, Ariel, Ascended Masters, Saint Germain, Babaji, Siddhartha, I mean, a number of them. And so when somebody came to me for channeling, I would say, let's just open up and see who comes through. And very often who came through had a connection with the person who was there for channeling. For instance, the first time I ever channeled Metatron, I had never channeled him before, but this woman came to me for channeling, and he came through and gave her a beautiful message. And they had a conversation. And when he left, she was very teary, and she reached into her blouse and pulled out a medal to Metatron. So that kind of a connection came through. She, often that people would have a connection to whoever came through. So then, I did that for a long time. And then finally, I sat down one day, and this new energy came through. And it came through very strongly in my heart center. And it was a beautiful energy. It was joyful. It made me laugh a little bit. It was warm, and it was loving. And it introduced itself as Jesus. Himself as Jesus. And I was like, not very likely. Really, that's, why me and why would you be coming here? But I was very skeptical. So I didn't channel him for anybody else for a long time. I just channeled him for myself. Every single morning I would get up and channel. And it took a long time, a long, long time before I believed it was him.
We already have a question from someone saying, how do you know it's real?
How do I know it's real? I know it's real because it resonates with me very strongly. To me, in my soul, I know it's real. I don't expect anybody else to necessarily believe that. Everybody needs to believe whatever they want to believe about it. I'm not here to tell people that this is definite. It's what I know in my soul is real. And it's because things he said to me, the guidance he gave to me, the things that he told me were just very true and always very loving and of love. So, and honestly, everybody has to believe what they want to believe. I don't tell people that you have to believe it. I mean, I was cynical. It took me years to believe it. So I understand if people are cynical about it.
Well, and that's what I've been telling people about the book. You don't have to believe it's Jesus. You can just read it for the teachings that are in there, and they may be useful to you.
Right.
We also have a question about what's the difference in channeling and just listening in meditation?
Well, and of course, when you're listening in meditation, you can be channeling all the time. I think everybody channels in different ways. Not everybody channels vocally like I do. So if you're listening and you're hearing voices and you're in meditation, that is a form of channeling. And it may be your higher self talking to you. It may be an angel. It could be, what an entity from outside our world. So I think that, it's a form of channeling. Even if you're speaking to your higher self, it's a form of channeling.
So, how did you and Jesus end up writing a book together?
Well, he asked me if I would channel a book after a while. After I'd been channeling him for a while, he said, would you channel a book? And, I said, okay, I can try. So I literally sat down with a notebook and a pen and wrote the entire thing out longhand. And he told me how long the book would be. He told me how many chapters there would be. He told me the titles of the chapters. And he dictated every single word that's in that book. Every word is his. I'm not that smart. I'm not that good a writer. It's 100% his words in that book.
I'm trying to think how to describe this. His writing is different from yours, which is one of the reasons I tend to be a believer in this. And his writing is so well organized. I mean, there were 12 distinct chapters with themes that hung together. It was cohesive, one built on the other. And he was just talking, right? So, as a writer and an editor, I was impressed by that.
And he says things very succinctly. He doesn't get carried away with things. He says his lessons are very succinct.
So, I know there are other Jesus channels. Do you have any idea why you were chosen for this particular book?
Certainly there's other people who channel Jesus. And I don't know as I would say that it was chosen as such, because if I'm to believe the book, it was a soul contract before I ever came into this life. That my soul contracted with Jesus for whatever reason, I don't know, that this is what I was supposed to be doing in this life. It was not what I ever really thought I aspired to. I didn't think I would be doing this at this age, but this is what I'm doing. And I do think that it was a soul contract before I ever came into it, rather than just being chosen once I'm here.
So, what do you say are the main points in the book?
Well, he packs a lot of information into a very small book. He talks about how our soul, the essence of our soul is pure energy. And as pure energy, it's connected to all other energies, all other souls. And that as pure energy, it's always trying to expand or raise its vibration. And in order to do that, it incarnates into this world and lays out for us a life path filled with events and challenges and relationships and encounters. And each one is a chance to expand and to grow. And with each thing, we have the free will to decide how we're going to respond. And if we respond from a higher vibrational emotion, such as love, kindness, inclusion, then we're expanding our soul. If we respond from a lower vibration, like hatred or anger or judgment, then we're contracting our soul. So our life is kind of a sum total of these expansions and contractions throughout it. And he talks a lot about love and about how love is the highest vibration, that it's the vibration of creation, it's the vibration of source. And he talks about how we're always, always called to respond to everything in love, even if we're facing someone who appears to be unlovable or someone who is doing something that appears to be unlovable, that we're always called to look for that soul within that person and try to send love to that soul. But as you know, he says that love is a very active response. He calls upon us all to be activists for love. It's not a passive response. And he even says, get off your couch and get out your front door and start working against things that are not of love. So he wants us to become activists for love. He talks about judgment and how we can never judge another person because each soul is unique and each soul lays out a very unique life path. It's filled with things that that person is supposed to experience and do. And we have no idea what that soul has laid out for that person. So we can't judge. We're coming from a place of ignorance about what's supposed to happen. And he calls judgment a useless emotion. He says that these perceptions might change our concept of God. He talks about how we can connect to our soul. he talks about what might happen when we connect to our soul. So there's a lot in a little book. I think that overall it's a very empowering message that we're not living a life where there's some capricious person throwing things into our path that we have to deal with, but
Right.
that we're not victims, we're creators.
I reread it over the weekend, and there's so much there. It's for those of you in Unity, it's like lessons in truth. Every time I read it, there is something I swear was never there before, to the point that I have the whole book highlighted. And this book is like that. It's about the same length. So you can read it over and over, and I swear there will be something new every time. He really does hammer on judgment, doesn't he?
He
Do
does.
not judge anyone else because you cannot know their soul path.
Right, right, yeah.
And he
And
talks a lot about love. There are some things that make me squirm. Did you, what impact did it have on you? Was there a particular teaching that struck you?
I think that the particular teaching that struck me is the one that you have to look at what you're doing to your own soul. That, for instance, if you're angry at something, what are you really hurting? You know, you're not really hurting the person you're angry at alone. You're also hurting your own soul. And do you really want to be doing that? Or do you want to maybe leave that anger behind and look for something to be grateful for, to change that energy that might be an energy of expansion rather than contraction? So I think that that's, probably I'm just a little bit more aware of, what I'm doing to myself as I go along.
So let's go into the channeling piece, because I imagine most of these people did not sign up to hear us chat all evening, although that would be fun. Um, so let me give my usual disclaimer. Whether you believe in channeling, whether you believe it's really Jesus, just listen to the teachings, and if they're useful for you, then this has been worthwhile. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A, not the chat. Lots of you are already doing that. We obviously won't get to them all, but thank you for your interest. Christine, you ready?
I am. And just so people know what's going on, I close my eyes because when I channel, I'm aware of what's going on. I'm aware of what he's saying. It's kind of like I kind of sit in the back seat and he's driving the bus. I'm aware of what's going on, but he's in charge and he's the one who is speaking. So I close my eyes so that I'm not distracted. And I guess if everybody could just have a little bit of patience at the beginning, because I'm going to close my eyes. If everybody wants to just close their eyes and take a few deep breaths, then he will begin to speak. Eventually, it usually takes about a minute. Excuse me. But then he'll speak, and he'll speak for I don't know how long. I don't know. He'll speak for however long he wants to talk, and I don't know what he's going to talk about. But then he'll open for questions, and then as soon as he leaves, I'm back. It's not as though it's any great thing to either get into or get out of. It comes quite easily.
Yeah, I've done this with Christine before, and it's not dramatic.
No, it's not.
She'll just get quiet for a minute.
It is so wonderful to be here with you all. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I have been so, so pleased to have the opportunity to speak with you because you are such a wonderful, wonderful group. There is a reason why I have chosen to speak with you. There is a very big reason, and that is because all of you come from a place where you understand the truths that I was teaching. You understand the fact that you are Christ within yourself. You understand the fact that each of you has the ability to make your own world. You understand the fact that each of you have the ability to be divine. You understand all of that, and all of that is not understood by many, but you understand that. So we are very, very pleased to be speaking with you tonight. And we are very pleased that there are so many of you here. And this is something that we would like to speak about. We would like to speak about the fact that unity has such a wonderful, wonderful message that it will be spreading over the world even further than it is now. For this is, as you know, a very difficult time, not only for your own country, but for the entire world. There is much that is going on, and unity is just that beacon of light, that beacon of light, that beacon of love that can change the universe. You know that. For all is energetic, you understand that. That is part of what the book is about. But that is something that is not fully understood on that plane, that you are all energy, and all your emotions are energy, and all your thoughts are energy. And as you send them out into the universe, they are changing the energy of the universe. So those of you who carry these high vibrational thoughts, those of you who live in love and live in kindness and inclusion, we love unity for all of that, for all of that. Those of you who are spreading those things, even just by being on the plane at this time, at this very difficult time, are changing the vibration of the entire world just by being there, just by thinking the thoughts that you think, just by spreading the love that you spread. So indeed, we are very grateful to each and every one of you, because this is the time that your world is undergoing a great transition. It is undergoing a transition from a time when there were things that were hidden. There were things that people were not quite aware of, and now it is all brought to the surface. And indeed, it is coming to a crisis point. But I tell you that those of you who are in the light will win. Those of you who are in the light will be the ones who triumph over this, that these lower energies will not win. They cannot win against you. They just cannot win against you. For you hold the light. And you understand that. You come from a very, very, very special place where you can understand what I'm talking about. So that is why I'm so pleased that the book is coming through you, not only for you all to read, but to spread to others, because it is not a surprise to you what is in that book. It resonates with what you already believe. It will resonate with what you have taught. It will resonate with what you are. And that is why that book is in your hands right now. That is why we took this path to see that it would be in your hands, because your hands are the sacred hands to hold it. For this is a message that the entire world needs to hear right now. And we are entrusting that message to you. We are entrusting that message to those of you who understand it and are capable of carrying it forth. There is more to come. There is more to come. This is, in some ways, a very basic message, and it is things in that book that will not be a big leap for people who are at your level to understand. In fact, you already know it. It may just be a reminder to you of things that are already familiar. But it is needed right now. You are needed right now. You are the light that will change the world. And I guess that is what my message tonight needs to be, is that you need to understand how important you are. I know in your daily lives, you can come across things that seem tedious, and they seem as though you're may not be accomplishing all that you would like to accomplish, and you are not seeing the wondrous love and light that you would like the world to be. But you have no way of knowing how much you are truly doing just by being there. You see, we talk a lot about soul contracts in this book. And all of you, each and every one of you, has signed a soul contract to be there on this plane at this time because you were needed. Each and every one of you's soul laid out a life for you to be where you are right now. You are doing exactly what you are meant to do. And that is very important, because there are many, many people who do not fulfill their soul's purpose. There are many, many people who do not do what their soul is calling them to do. But you are. you are. You are the ones who are standing there with all the wonderful, wonderful love that you have, and all the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful knowledge that you have, and all the wonderful, wonderful light that you have to share. And you are sharing it. And you are doing it in a way that embraces everyone. You are doing it in a way that welcomes everyone. You are doing it in a way that allows everyone to maintain their own beliefs and their own freedoms and their own sense of self. You never take anything away from them. You respect people for everything that they are. And that is exactly the teachings that we want on that plane. And indeed, 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 each and every one of you are part of the divine. Each and every one of you are creators in many ways, and you know that. And in the future, we'll be giving more information about what wonderful creators you are. But each and every one of you has paved the way to a wonderful, wonderful place right now, right where you are. Be very proud of yourself. Be very grateful that you are where you are. Each and every one of you deserves credit for being exactly where you are at this moment. So I want you to know that all of us are so grateful to you for doing what you do. All of us are so pleased that we have this opportunity to spend a little time with you. All of us are so very, very, very grateful. Very, very, very grateful. I cannot say that enough. For your earth needed souls to come to it at this time, even though we know it's a very difficult time for you, and you may be confused about what's going on, and you may be sad, and you may at times be angry with what is going on. That is natural. That is your human self. But you also know in your soul that love is the only way to solve it. Love is the only vibration that will counter everything that is going on in that world. Only love. And you understand that. It is part of what unity is, love. So my dears, my dears, my dears, thank you for allowing me to speak, and let's open for some questions. I would love to have a conversation with you.
Hi, Jesus. The questions are being funneled through me. You've just answered a question that is on a lot of people's minds, which is what is going on in the world, in the United States? What is ours to do? How do we pray about it? How long will it last? And why does this have to happen?
And well, it's a long answer as to why it had to happen. You see, Earth was conceived as a place where souls would go to increase their vibration, because that's what souls do. Souls are always trying to increase their vibration, for as they increase their vibration, they have more knowledge, they have more wisdom, they have more power. So they're always working to do that. And Earth was created as a place for souls to go to do that. But as souls incarnated into those dense bodies and that dense atmosphere of the earth, things changed. And people began to experience the pleasures of possessions and the pleasures of greed and the pleasures of power. And so went the earth. And so has been the history of your earth. When you read the history of any country, you read the history of wars, you read the history of conquest, you read the history of cruelty. And so that has gone on for quite a while, but it is now time. It is time when your earth is being called to rise up to be what it was meant to be. And in order to do that, all those lower vibrations have to come forth, and they have to be countered with love. And that is what is happening right now. These are not new things that are coming up. These are things that have existed. They may not have existed in this way in your country, but they have existed in mankind, and they have been hidden. Many of you are not aware of the extent to which these emotions have been present. So it's a surprise to many of you, but they have been, and they have been hidden. And now they're being brought to the surface. And it is difficult for all of you. It is very difficult for all of you. It is very difficult to see your world change. It's very difficult to see people being treated cruelly. But understand that each and every person who is there now has a soul contract to be there, to be doing what they are doing. And that is often very difficult for humans to understand, is that people do have soul contracts to go through hard times. But there is a purpose why they are going through them. So indeed, know that your purpose in all of this is just to love and do exactly what you are doing. And you have no idea how powerful that is. You may feel as though you are powerless, but you are not. You are not. The love gives you the power to change things. You do not have to be countering every action, but you do need to maintain your level of love and to give up fear and to give up anxiety. And that is very difficult in the physical world, for your conscious mind hangs on to that, does it not? But it is what you are called to do. And yes, this is going to last a little bit longer. And then there will be a great transformation, and it will come in a surprising way. And it is not something that I can tell you about right now, exactly how it will come about, but I can tell you that it will, and that the light will win, because how can you possibly lose? Look around at yourselves. Look around at the wonderful, wonderful energies that you are. How could you possibly lose? You will not. And it may not happen in your lifetime. It may take a while. And there are going to be, I can tell you, there are going to be difficult times ahead, as there are now. But there is a purpose. There is a purpose. And it is a purpose that your conscious mind cannot really grasp. But what your conscious mind can grasp is that there is a purpose, and that your soul has put you there at this time for the purpose of being love, of being that which counters these negative energies.
Okay, you say we volunteered for it. Here we are. Let me shift gears a little bit. There are a lot of questions from people asking about their personal circumstances or decisions that they're trying to make. What is the best way to get guidance?
The best way to get guidance is to go within a meditation. And I know you do meditate, but not all people meditate regularly and have a serious practice of meditation. But when you have a serious practice of meditation, then you can connect to your own soul. And your own soul is the best source of knowledge for you. Your own soul knows exactly what you should be doing and what is going on around you. So deep meditation in silence, not guided meditation, but silent meditation for a lengthy period of time. It has to become a period of time. You need to practice it until it becomes natural for you to spend time every single day in meditation. And that is where you will find your answers, is in meditation. Meditate on each issue at a time, and you will find that the answers will come to you. Be aware of what's happening in your body. Your body is a wonderful source of information. Your body can tell you whether something feels right or not. Is your body feeling like it's rejecting something? Well, then think about, why is that happening? Why is my body rejecting that? So it is time to get out of your conscious mind, because your conscious mind is wonderful. Your conscious mind is wonderful for seeing you through your daily duties and your actions, and it's what keeps you alive on that planet. But it does not connect with your soul. You connect with your soul in meditation and getting out of your conscious mind and silencing your conscious mind and just listening to your soul. And that is where you can get the best advice,
Thanks. Also, a number of questions about religion. What do you wish we knew about your teachings? What do you think of our current religions? And why don't Christian leaders teach the truth about you?
Indeed, my teachings have been twisted, let's say, throughout time. And some of that has been purposeful and some of it has been accidental, because things are passed down in oral traditions and things are passed down from person to person. And as you know, each person's interpretation of what I said can be a little bit different, just as each one of you, as you go home tonight, as you say what you think I said, you will say it a little bit differently than how I said it. And that just happens. And that is kind of an innocent thing that happened. But there have also been those who have twisted my teachings for their own power and for their own control. And that is something that is something that is prevalent in some religions. have said that I am not here to do away with religion. I am here to do away with things that are not of love. And if someone is practicing a religion, and all religions have something wonderful in them, all religions have something that is of the light and love within them. And if somebody practices the religion and they are living a life that brings forth that light and that love, then that is a wonderful thing, and that religion is meaningful to them. But if somebody uses religion as a club or as something to gain power, then indeed that is wrong. Indeed, that is wrong. And it is totally contrary to what my teachings, because my teachings were that each one of you has the divine inside of you. Each one of you has the ability to do everything that I did. I did not do anything that you could not do yourselves. But then it became very frightening to people to have everyone feel that powerful because they wanted to be the ones in power. So yes, my teachings have been very twisted. I am not against religion when religion is taken for the love of what is being taught, but I'm against using it as a club. I am against using it as a power. I'm against using it to decide for themselves who is worthy and who is not, to discriminate against certain people because of whom they love, or discriminate against certain ideas because they do not match their own ideas. That is wrong. That has nothing to do with my teachings whatsoever. I taught only love, and I taught that you are all divine.
Any chance you'd come back and help us out?
Not at this time. It would just not be beneficial for me to come through other than in the ones I channel through, because just imagine how chaotic that would be if suddenly I appeared someplace and said that I was who I was when I was there once before. It would cause only chaos and discord and wars. So no, it is not time for me to be there now.
That's what I thought you'd say. Um, oh, quick question. Would you prefer to be called Yeshua?
Ah, yes, in some ways I would. Yes, that is closer to me. I use Jesus in this book. I use Jesus when I'm channeling most of the time because people relate to that. But indeed, Yeshua is a preferred name.
So here's a big question. How do you define God? You talk about this in the book, but you say it's not an entity, and you don't seem really invested in whether we believe in God per se.
There is no one entity who is sitting up there, who is the creator of everything, who is judging you or looking at what you are doing or deciding what is right or wrong or putting things in your path. That there is no entity that is doing that at all. If you want to think of God as the creator, the source of light, then that is the continuum of energy, is synonymous with God. It is all one. Indeed, the continuum of energy is source, and source can be called God. And I'm not invested at all in what people believe of God or want to call God. I think that is a very personal choice for someone for how they wish to express that concept. I'm not trying to tell anyone to change their concept of God. I think that is a very personal thing for what is meaningful to someone, what brings comfort to someone, what brings guidance to someone, what brings love to someone. It is a very personal thing.
Would you talk a little bit about the continuum of energy? You talked about it a lot in the book.
Yes, the continuum of energy is all that exists. All that exists is energy. It is infinite. It is all that ever existed. It is all that will exist, is energy. And it is all connected. And within this continuum is a record of everything that has happened. Sometimes you may have heard the Akashic records. Well, that is part of the continuum. Everything that has ever happened is part of the continuum. Everything that is happening now is part of the continuum. And something that is very difficult to understand is that everything is happening all at once. In your world, you have a linear time, but time is not linear in our world. Time, everything happens all at once. in the spirit world, in the continuum of energy. So the continuum of energy contains everything that you have ever heard of and more. It contains all locations where you can incarnate, and it contains all possible incarnations that have ever been. It contains everything. The continuum of energy is just all that is.
Okay. How do we elevate ourselves to Christ consciousness?
You do that by love and by connecting with your soul. For when you connect with your soul, truly connect with your soul, all you can possibly do is love, because your soul, that is what your soul is love. That is all that exists. That is the only emotion that exists in the continuum of energy. There are no other emotions. It is all unconditional love. So when you connect to your soul and you connect to love, then there you are.
A couple of people have asked what happens to us after we die.
After you decide to leave, and you decide, it is a decision that you make, that you are going to leave that incarnation. It does no one else decides that for you. Your soul has decided that. And when you come back to spirit, there are many things that can happen. First of all, you are never, ever, ever judged. There is only unconditional love. You come back to a place of unconditional love. You come back to a place where you will find the souls of those who you have loved on that plane will be here waiting for you. And that is of great comfort to many people, to know that you will not be separate from them, that they are here waiting for you. But it is all unconditional love. It is a place of unconditional love. And entities in that world exist at several vibrational levels. So you can decide what you want to do to change your vibrational level. And say, for instance, you came into that world and you lived a life where you didn't quite do what your soul intended, and you came back and you actually had contracted your energy. And so you came back at a little bit lower vibrational level. Well, your soul then has a decision it can make. It can decide that, all right, this is fine, I'll stay here at this vibrational level. Or it can decide, maybe I want to go back and incarnate on Earth and maybe do things a little bit differently to see if I can expand my energy the next time. Or it can decide to go someplace else and incarnate to try to expand its energy. It has many decisions. Or it can decide to assist another soul that decides it's going to incarnate. And you may have heard of that as spirit guides. Each and every one of you can be a spirit guide to someone if you choose to, for indeed that also expands your energy. So there are many decisions that can be made when you come back, but it is all done with unconditional love, just unconditional love.
Okay, so many questions. A couple of people have asked about forgiveness. Basically, how do we do it?
Forgiveness is sometimes very difficult, and you have to fully understand that indeed what happened may have been something that you contracted for. And isn't that a new thought? That maybe your soul thought you would grow through whatever happened that you are now looking to forgive. Maybe your soul thought that you could learn a lesson from that. Maybe your soul thought that you could learn how to do a little bit of unconditional love yourself, although unconditional love is truly not possible on that plane, but perhaps you could practice a little bit of it. So there is much that you could learn from what you are trying to forgive. But you have to also understand that in many instances, people are doing the best that they can do with what they know that they can do, with what they know at that time, with what they've experienced, with the position that they're in at that time. And so you have to understand that and accept that. And that's what you also have to understand about yourself. Or if you're trying to forgive yourself, you have to understand that there really is nothing to forgive. You did the best that you could do at the time with what you had, with the knowledge you had. And if you have made amends to the person who you may have harmed, then that is wonderful. But forgiveness is something that comes when you gain an understanding that there are reasons for actions. There are reasons to look at how you may have grown, and there are reasons to try to bring love into that situation. None of that is easy. None of what I teach is easy for when you're on that plane. We understand that you are in very dense physical bodies that are just rife with emotions. So it's not easy to just say, oh, I'm supposed to love. I'm just going to, okay, that's what I'm going to do today. We understand that's not easy. We are just putting it out as goals for you to work towards that love, to work towards always giving that love. So indeed, forgiveness is something that is difficult, but you have to sit and spend some time meditating. Again, meditating, because meditating will bring up your soul's assistance in dealing with it. Meditating on what happened, why did it happen? Was there something that perhaps you learned in that? And was there a way that you could show love that you may not have thought of before? So all of that can help with meditation. But again, we are not saying that it is easy. We know it is not easy. We know that the teachings of love and forgiveness, it's just not easy when you're on that plane, but it is something to aspire to.
Somebody asked if you can define love.
Love is just the highest vibrational energy. Love is the total acceptance. Love is the total appreciation. Love is the total gratitude for someone. Love is the total just willingness to embrace, willingness to accept, willingness to do what you can to be the best for that person. Love indeed is just the highest vibration. And it just comes very naturally. It's hard to define. It's easier to feel, is it not? We know when you love something, you know when you love something. And I'm not speaking of the love of you love someone for a reason. You love someone because they're kind to you, or you love someone because they have something that you would like, or you love someone because they look beautiful. I'm not talking about that kind of love. I'm talking about a true love, the true love that you truly love someone deeply, soul connection. That's felt rather than defined.
Okay, quick sidebar. Several people have asked what you mean when you refer to we and us.
Yes. There is never on this plane just one speaking. When I say we, I'm talking about all the high vibrational beings, the ascended masters, the archangels, the angels, all of us. All of us have messages, all of us have missions to help you, to be present to that earth at this time. And all of us speak with one voice. You will find that as different ones are channeled at different times, they may be giving the message in different ways, but it is always the same message of love. So indeed, it is one message coming from all of us. It is not just I who am speaking. It is many, many of us who are speaking, trying to bring that higher vibration of unconditional love to your plane.
Okay, thanks. One person asked, why are there so many terrible people on the earth? And added, don't tell me it's individual choice.
It's soul choice. Indeed, that is what it is indeed, it is a soul choice as to what they do. And indeed, you may not like that answer, but that is the answer. There is no evil entity who is driving people. People like to think that maybe there is an evil devil or someone who is inside of people who is causing this. It is not. It is simply their own souls. And indeed, there may have been past lives where they've contracted their souls to the point where love is just foreign to them. They've contracted their souls to the point where they exist in those lower vibrations of hatred and anger because they have led many lives that have contracted their souls down to that point. But it is not another entity that is causing them to be evil. It is their own soul that has brought them to that position. So it's not a simple answer, because indeed there are some instances where people do come into that plane to do things that might be seen as being wrong, but indeed that is their mission, to teach on that plane. And then there are others who have indeed contracted their souls to where they just live in those lower energy vibrations.
So we keep coming back. Reincarnation is real, but how do we know our life purpose? What are we working toward?
Your life purpose, basically, is to expand the energy of your soul. That is why your soul incarnates. And how you do that is what you often think of as life purpose, is what your life purpose in the physical world. And that is something that you know when you are joyful. You know what your life purpose is when you're thinking of something and it brings you that joy and it brings you that soul feeling that, yes, this is who I am. This is my identity. This is who I am. This is who I'm supposed to be. Not necessarily who I think I want to be, but just who I know I should be. So when you have that resonance with your soul that this is it, then you know it's your life purpose. But again, always check in with your soul through meditation. I will always lead you back to meditation, for that is where your soul resides. So if you're wondering what your life purpose is, go to your soul and find out. So that is something that is so very, very important. But when you find that thing that brings you joy, it may not be what you thought you wanted to do. It may not be what your education steered you towards, but your joy brings you to it. Then you know that's your life purpose.
A couple more questions about what happens after death. Is there a life review? And do our souls remain individuated, or do we just melt into the one, the continuum?
There is a life review. It is done by your own soul. Your own soul looks at what happens in that life and what had happened and what it went through. And so, indeed, your soul then makes the choices, what it wants to do next after that review. And as for if you meld into the whole or if you are unique, it's both. I often compare it to a molecule in the ocean. The molecule is indeed unique. The molecule is individual, but it is part of a huge ocean that all exists together and is all one also. And that is the way it is, as far as you might be able to understand in the conscious mind, for there is a little bit more to it that is not really comprehensible right now where you are. But indeed, that's where it's both. You maintain your individuality, but you are indeed connected to all as one.
And you really did incarnate in a physical body as Jesus.
I did.
Somebody wants to know what you looked like.
I looked as you would expect a man from that part of the world to look.
Okay. The Bible. What should we make of it? What should we take from it? What do you wish we knew about it?
I think that it is very important to not take the Bible literally, to take it metaphysically, as you do in unity. You have a very good approach to the Bible. The Bible has been handed down. And as we spoke before, when things are handed down, things are changed deliberately or accidentally. They're just changed. So none of it is total truth. There is much in it that leads to truth. There is much in it that is teaching. There is much in it that is good. But there is other things in it that should not be incorporated into your daily life. And I think you know that with what resonates with your soul, just as we are telling you with this book, to take from it what resonates with you. I would say the same with the Bible. Take from it what resonates with you. You know what sounds true to your soul. You know what you should believe. Do not believe something just because it is in writing in front of you. Take it to your heart, take it to your soul, and see what resonates. And then you will know. You will know what is in the Bible that you need to take away from it. For there is much that is in there that you can learn from, but you need to be discerning.
Okay. So, are you a savior? Do you want people to pray to you? What sort of relationship should we have with you?
I was not a savior because there was nothing to save anyone from. I did not come to earth to save mankind. I came to earth to teach mankind of their own power and their own divinity. So, indeed, I want people to understand that what I did, others could have done. It took me a long time to know how to do the things that I did. It took me a long time to learn to use energy in the way that I did. But it is not something that could not be done. In fact, there are others who have done it. Are others that had just gone back to energy, as you know, as people say, I ascended. I didn't ascend anywhere. I simply went back to the energetic form. There are others who have done that too. But no, I never did not come to save anyone, for there was nothing to save people from. I came to teach people in hopes of doing away with some of the cruelty and some of the things that were going on, to teach people of their own power and their own divinity and the power of love. For I spoke a lot about love then also. Prayer is indeed another thing. And you at Unity have such a beautiful concept of prayer. And you have a prayer that indeed sends out energy to create what you would like to see. And that is what prayer should be. Prayer is not supplication to me to come down and do something. Indeed, asking me to be present with someone is a lovely thing, and I am there. I am there. I am there. But your way of praying, of sending out the energy of changing things energetically into a better place, is indeed the true prayer.
Somebody asks, are we happy when we die?
Yes, yes, yes. Because there is nothing but unconditional love. You feel unconditional love. You are received with unconditional love. All who are on the plane are in unconditional love. So yes, there is a happiness, definitely. It is much harder to be happy in that physical plane.
Ah. Here's one. Did you enjoy being human?
I did. There was much to enjoy. I enjoyed relationships with people. I enjoyed sharing with people. I enjoyed giving to people. I enjoyed speaking to people and seeing them change for the better. I enjoyed being amongst the people. I did not enjoy seeing the cruelty and the greed, and I certainly did not enjoy what happened at the end of my life, but I knew it was going to happen. I was willing to do that. But yes, I did enjoy much of my life there.
Did you have a family? Children, wife?
I did.
Would you be willing to say a little more about that?
I had a wife and 2 children.
Okay. Well, here's one. Are space aliens real?
Yes, indeed. There are many places in the universe where a soul can go to incarnate. And there are many places where souls do go to incarnate. And you may call them space aliens or extraterrestrials or whatever. They are simply souls that have gone someplace else to incarnate. So, yes, there are many more than you can possibly even know of places where you can incarnate. And the incarnations are very different. Earth has a very dense physical incarnation. In other places, it's much more an energetic incarnation. It's very different depending on what the soul desires to do at what time. There are many choices for a soul if they decide to incarnate.
Okay, I'm afraid we're going to wear out Christine, but one more question. Would you talk about A Course in Miracles? Was that really you?
It was, yes, it was. It was. And I'm very pleased that it is being studied. I know that it is not always the easiest to read, but indeed I am pleased. And yes, it did come from me.
Why is the language so different?
The language is different because it came through a different person, basically. And it came through in a way that made sense at the time. It is indeed what was thought to be the best way to teach at that time, through that person. But indeed, that has changed, and now we are we are using a simpler language because we realize that people need sometimes to have something that's a little bit more accessible.
Okay. Thank you so much for doing this.
It has been wonderful, and my dear Reverend Ellen, you have been wonderful. Thank you for doing this and for leading this and for asking the questions, and to everyone who is listening. Thank you for being here. We are so very grateful. We bow down in front of you with gratitude for what you are doing right now on that plane. We are so very, very grateful. And we send you love, 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 only love, all love. And thank you so very, very much.
For coming.
Okay, I'm back.
Are you exhausted?
No, no, I'm not. How long was it?
About 45 minutes. 40.
No, that was good. It was great.
A lot of you were asking about Jesus' life on earth, and he has said in other channelings that there is another book about that he channeled with a different author. Her name is Tina Louise Spalding, and the book is called Jesus, an Autobiography. And I read it. It's really interesting. It's about his life here on earth, and he talks about his wife and his children and the crucifixion and a lot of the questions you had here. So I would recommend that too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a good book.
Yeah. I don't know how to follow that.
I don't have anything to follow it with either.
I'm grateful for your doing it. You mentioned before we got started that people can schedule time with you individually.
Yes, they can. Unfortunately, right now my website is being redesigned. So if you go to my normal website, christineambush.com, I would ask you not to schedule an appointment there. But there is another website that we've put in the chat, I believe, that is christineambush.traft.com. And that'll take you right to a scheduler where somebody can schedule an appointment if they wish.
Okay, the chat moderators will put it in the chat.
Okay.
Jesus let you know that this is a series of books, right?
Yes.
And you've already been working on the second one. What is it about?
Well, the first book, Jesus kind of talks to us about being energy. In the second book, he takes a much deeper dive into that concept of what energy is and how we can use the creative force of energy. It's kind of a step-by-step guide teaching us how we can create the life that we want. It's a very practical book, and he talks about our thoughts being energy and how we're creating all the time with our thoughts and how we can use our thoughts to create what we want rather than what we're creating accidentally. He talks about healing with energy. He talks about how to use energy in relationships. He talks about just how to use visualizations, just a very practical guide for creating your life through how to use energy. And at the end, in fact, the last chapter is, do you now understand what a powerful creator you are?
Mm-hmm. Do you hear an actual voice?
When I hear?
Do you hear him, or is it just blocks of thought?
I hear, yes, I hear it. No, it's not blocks of thought. It comes in as regular sentences, word after word after word sentences. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, someone had asked about that, and I realized I'd never asked you. All right, wow. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you for being here. I want to make sure you know about a couple of other books we released recently. One is called Headphones and Heartbreaks. It's about how to recover from heartbreak using spirituality and music, and there's a playlist that goes with it. The other one is The Healing Tapestry. It's a memoir from a Unity minister, David McClure, who used Myrtle Fillmore's healing principles in his cancer journey, and he writes about that. There's also a page on unity.org where you can find all the videos we've done with Unity Books Presents, so you can learn more about our other authors and their books. But this one has been the most unusual, Christine, and certainly had the biggest audience. So I'm really grateful to you for being here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
We'll say good night to everyone.
Good day.